Special live episode of Dude, I Love My Car, because dude, I love your car because it's a Hellcat, and of course I'm a fellow Hellcatter. Next to me is Jeff Goldstein, and that is his 2016 Dodge Challenger Hellcat behind us, but it's special. It's got, what, 1,000 horsepower?
Yeah, a little over 1,000.
And we're going to go under the hood in this video, but first let's talk about your car. So tell me about the color.
Jazz Blue Pearl Coat, which is kind of cool. They discontinued it and replaced it with Indigo this year. But as you can tell from some of the reactions when I came in some lights it looks kind of purple, in some lights it looks black, other lights it looks blue. So it's kind of like a mood ring. You know, you drive around.
I think in 2016 was the only year they did Plum Crazy. That's a lot more purple, right? It's a lot lighter.
Yeah.
That one is a little bit kind of a classier version of Plum Crazy. So tell me how you got the car. You said it's not a Colorado car. You actually saw that it was available in Georgia, of all places. Why Georgia?
Right. Well, my wife and I were looking at a car, similar. It was a 16 A8 blue, same color, no rally stripes, up in Greeley.
Yeah.
And we were going to buy it the following Monday. On that Saturday night, I think the sales manager used the fact that we were going to buy it on Monday to get someone else.
I hate that. Oh,
yeah. So
if you guys are out there and you do that kind of stuff, it does your dealership no good.
Yeah.
It just creates, bad karma.
Right.
It comes back.
Right. So we saw another one pop up online in a dealership in Atlanta. It was a Porsche dealership.
Yeah.
Porsche dealership. So
Do they want it?
I figured they probably just wanted to
get rid of it
as fast as they could. I made them a cash offer, and they took it. And so we ended up not only getting the color we wanted, but the rally stripes and the brown interior as well. And we paid probably $15,000 less than we would have otherwise.
So you were like 50 under sticker.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. They make, FCA doesn't make money by not selling cars. So was this always your dream car?
Yes, was definitely on my list, and,
Yeah.
and near the very top, because I was a huge fan of the movie Vanishing Point.
Yeah.
Growing up, now I know it's not white, and it's not an RT, but
Nevertheless, it's a Challenger.
It's a Challenger, and I think if Kowalski was alive today, he'd be very excited about the Hellcat.
Yeah, I wonder how many cars that movie actually ended up selling. So we're gonna look under the hood, but let's kind of walk through what you did. Because there's a lot of changes under that hood. You guys are going to be really surprised when we pop that bad boy, because not only is it tuned, but it's very custom. So kind of tell me the process that you went through to go from 707 horsepower to probably about 1,000, right, at the crank, maybe like 900 at the wheels now.
Yeah, about 900 at the wheels. Well, the process I went through was I got it and said I'm never going to mod this thing.
Yeah, and you modded it.
That lasted 2 weeks. First thing was, I'll just put a catch can in it.
Okay.
So I put a catch can, fender mounted it in case I ever wanted to get back to the pulleys. But once the catch can was in, I was like, oh, look, the pulleys are wide open. And then I put in a B. Woody velocity intake, because you got to take advantage of that supercharger whine, and it really accentuates the whine. I figure, okay, now I have a car with a great sound coming from the supercharger. I have to match that to the back. So I started with some Dyno Max Mini Racing bullets. I replaced the mid mufflers. After that, I was like, okay, now I've got a great sounding car. It's cosmetically pleasing.
And you probably had a little bit more for your horsepower, right? I mean, I'm not sure an air intake gives you any more power, but a free-flowing exhaust certainly does.
Yeah, it maybe 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once you get it tuned, the theory is you get a lot more horsepower out of that piece of equipment. I figure if I'm going to get it tuned to get the best out of that equipment, I might as well, while I'm in there, do some other stuff. So I started replacing the pulleys, and then it became, well, if I'm in there anyway, working on the supercharger, I might as well pin the crank. And if I'm going to pin the crank, I might as well put in the aftermarket ATI 10% super damper, which, in addition to being a great piece of equipment, actually reduces rotational mass considerably in this car. So from there, I was like, all right, well, now what kind of gas do I want to run it? Pump gas around here is 91, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, in Colorado, because of our altitude, we don't have very high octane fuels, which means we don't make a lot of power.
Right. So I started looking at E85 very seriously. At the time, there was no flex fuel tune for the Hellcat. As I was in the middle of the whole tuning process, I was working with some really well-respected tuners out of Delaware,
Yeah.
HHP. They're very busy, let's put it that way. My mechanic was going to SEMA. I needed my car back. They couldn't get the tune done in time, not their fault at all. But right around that time, I heard about this flex fuel tune, and I contacted the guy out of Georgia. It's Injected Engineering, which is a really good shop. They're one of the top 3 now in terms of cars in the 8s, Hellcats in the 8s in the quarter mile. He told me about it. It was a revelation, because prior to this kind of tune, if you wanted to run 85, you had to swap out your tune. You had to empty your tank, make sure you weren't mixing fuels. This one works using the wideband sensor that's built into the car. Essentially what it does is it infers alcohol content through the wideband sensor, and because the guy had broken the alcohol table,
Yeah.
he was able to just set up all the spark points and all the alcohol content percentages so that it just reads what's in the car, knows what's in it, and matches it up.
So that was a lot of that was a lot
Tech.
So let me unpack that.
Sure, sorry.
Just a little bit. No. Let's start with the supercharger tune. So a turbocharged car, you can tune a couple of ways. You can basically go into the software and increase the boost pressure that the turbo is putting out, and that increases the combustion, which increases the horsepower. That's a software tune. You can also then go and put a bigger turbocharger on it if you really want more boost.
Right.
Of course, that puts more stress on the block and, you know, voids warranty and does bad things like that. With a supercharger, there's no real way to go and tune the supercharger. You have to put a different size crank pulley, which in effect is the equivalent of putting a bigger turbocharger on a car. So it increases the amount of air that you're putting through the vehicle. And so that's what you did. You changed the pulley.
Yeah.
And there are different size pulleys, I mean,
Yeah.
depending how drastic you want to go.
It's spinning a lot faster than factory. Yes.
Right. Now, you also did a flex fuel conversion. Now, keep in mind that race fuel is like 100 octane, which is mainly more alcohol, right? And E85 is basically much more alcohol.
Yeah.
And it's cheap. Race fuel is expensive. E85 is cheap, but the equivalent, they're very equivalent in terms of how much more combustion they give you.
Right.
The problem is if you put 85 in a regular car, you're going to mess with, it'll start to ping, right? You're going to mess with it'll detonate early, and you're going to get pinging, and you're going to have, it's going to mess with the car's computer, and it's not good. It won't work. So you basically converted that Hellcat to run on higher levels of alcohol, giving you higher combustion, giving you more horsepower, and at the end of all that, right, better air in, easier air out, more pressure in with the supercharger, higher combustible fuel, you end up with 300 more horsepower at the crank.
Right, and no worries about not being able to find an E85 station if that's all you're running, because I can put in pump gas as well, and it'll run just as well.
Yeah, because usually you don't want to mix those two.
Right.
Right. And you know, that's a lot of work, and you can't see it on the car. Well, the stuff you can see, of course, is you got rid of the stock tires, so those are, you said Nittos, right? One of the biggest problems with Hellcats is you can't put the power down. It's really hard. The tires are 275s from the factory. They're just not wide enough. So if you put softer rubber on it, it gives you more grip, and you can put the power down. Of course, the Demon has tires like that. And the little thin ones in the front,
right? And
that lets you put the power down. Now, a typical Hellcat will run 12s all day long. If you get good grip, you'll get 11s. And then if you're really, really good, how fast have you gotten Hellcats down to?
I haven't personally
but people.
Yet, but at sea level, there are people getting them in the mid-5s. I mean, the mid-8s right now, mid-8.5s.
For a quarter mile.
For a quarter mile.
Yeah, and FCA has gotten the Demon to 9.65. So people are running stock Hellcats faster than they are, well, not stock, but you know, Hellcats that don't have the big, they probably have bigger wheels and tires too. So, but anyway, they're getting them down to the mid-8s, whereas the Demon, if you get it from the factory, is a 9.65. Any questions, Mike, before we go and show them all the goodies under there?
No questions yet.
All right, let's go. Let's go. I'll grab this. You stay there. Ian, come on, bring it over. come on with me, Jeff, and we'll kind of look under the hood here. So let me pop it with one hand. All right, you can open it. I got it. Voila! Check it out, boys. Look at that. So kind of walk me through the different components that you got there.
Sure. First of all, this is the B. Woody Velocity intake. You can get it just regular black, or you can have it powder coated. I had it to match this. This is a Speedlogix strut brace. Metco makes this breather valve, which I used instead of a two catch can system, because you don't really get a lot of oil over on the driver's side. This tank is an extended coolant tank from Moroso. Oh, I didn't even mention to you before, and I'll take you through it in a second. Here's the pulley system, gate screen belt, smaller pulley. There's also a idler pulley on there from B. Woody, and what that does is prevents the belt from slipping at all, and that's, because that's been a problem. Underneath here, there's 4 fuel rails. The reason I had to put those in is because we could not get the E85 identifier onto the stock rail. We tried, we soldered it, it just didn't hold. So that allows me to run that. Down below here, I put in a 3.5-inch racing heat exchanger.
Okay.
Also,
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, also from B. Woody.
Okay.
And also I have a taser, and that just plugs in underneath your, just by your parking brake. And from that, I can do line lock. I can control all the cooling in the car, and it also does frivolous stuff like light shows, but the kids love that.
I like the line lock.
Yeah, the line lock is
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is just a cover, right? That's just
this stuff is from American Carcraft,
Yep.
and they custom make those.
Battery cover. I see. Oh, that's not a battery cover. That's a fuse cover.
Yeah, fuse cover.
Yeah.
That's from, I think, American Brothers. Yeah, there's
A lot of jewelry under the hood here.
Yeah, a lot of you gotta kind of make it your own.
Yeah. And you said you popped out this headlight too, right? Because
Yeah.
that one is of course functional. I mean, the main air comes down here, but you also have the air coming in through this headlight, which is what makes, which is what I think makes the Challenger so much cooler than the Charger Hellcat. But that's me.
I'm with you. I'm not a Charger guy, and my Charger friends know it.
Yeah, and you picked out that one.
You just reach down and pop it out with your finger, and extra air in, extra air out.
Yeah. Why not? Get more cooling. Is this your daily driver? I mean, is this something that you can just drive to work and not worry about detonating the engine?
Yes. Before I came here today, I took the kids to school into it.
Okay.
In it, and I do that every day.
Now, is this the automatic or the stick?
This is the A8. Yes, the automatic.
Why'd you go with the automatic?
Like everybody else who's into these kind of old-time muscle cars, first thing I did was said I'm never getting I was like that too. An automatic. Yeah. But when I drove the A8 and my wife drove the A8, we just were like, this is fantastic. I mean, the shifting is incredible. It didn't take away from the experience, in my opinion, because I like doing the paddles. I'm used to it from Gran Turismo.
Yeah, sure.
Video games like that. Yeah. So, yeah, we just thought the A8 was the way to go.
And when you boost, let's say 30% more power, right? Are you worried about the fact that everything downstream also becomes more fragile, right? So you've got drive shaft, you've got the differential. I mean, you're putting a lot more stress on all those parts. Have you thought about upgrading any of that? Right,
I've already put in a one-piece drive shaft.
Okay, there you go.
Aluminum drive shaft, and I put a differential brace from Performance on it. So, because people who have, even with the one-piece drive shafts, they've torn off their gears.
Yeah.
The differential brace has seemed to solve that problem for a lot of people. To add an extra layer of safety, I also put on a drive shaft safety loop under there. I have, for racing, some thicker end links for the sways. So, yeah, and if I do another upgrade, it'll probably be something like a G-Force Outlaw axle system, because people are tearing half shafts at this kind of torque.
Yeah, sure. Are you, well, let me ask you this. Are you a drag racer, or is this your first foray into kind of that world?
This is my first foray into it.
And you haven't taken it to a drag strip yet?
Not yet, because it wasn't done in time, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Are you a little nervous? I'd be a little nervous. You know what? Let's do this. When Bandimir opens up again in the spring, let's go, me and you, and we'll bring Das Lamas, and we'll bring his supercharged Challenger, and we'll bring the Scat Pack, and let's just go at it and see who's got what under the hood and who's got the fastest quarter-mile times.
Sure, works for me.
Yeah, you good with that?
Yeah.
Any questions, Mike?
What's your MPG like?
Yeah, what's your MPG like? People are asking.
Well, with E85, you burn it's about 30% more fuel.
Right.
So whatever 30% less of 27, probably 16, 17.
All right, and how much money you got into this? You said it cost about what, 53,000? You said because it was pre-owned.
Mm-hmm. Pre-owned by a guy who obviously mistook it for a Porsche because he traded it in, and the Porsche dealership in Atlanta didn't want it.
Yeah. So how much you got into this?
I'm probably right about where list price.
So you've got a custom.
Yeah.
1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
Challenger.
And it was broken in for me.
All right.
So
have you dynoed it?
Yes.
Okay. What are the numbers to the wheels?
Numbers to the wheels are with E67 we're at 884. So with the next kick up in the spark tables, which would be E75, we expect to see about 900, and at E85 maybe 910.
Now my concern, of course, would be if something goes kaboom and you take it to the local Dodge dealership, they're going to immediately see that you're probably out of warranty.
Oh, without a doubt. Although I have heard a
There's
rumor.
no hiding this.
I have heard a rumor though. The real concern with these has been the bad bearings in that particular batch of superchargers. And they're replacing that even if you've changed pulleys because it's a known issue.
Yeah.
And I guess it beats doing a recall.
Yeah. So maybe when I take mine in, because this is a 2016, right? Mm-hmm. So 2016 has issues with the bearings and supercharger.
2015s mostly, but some 2016s. And actually, people are now reporting some of the 2017s, even though they switched, are getting a similar problem.
Interesting. Well, next time I take it in, I'll ask the dealership about it. How many miles you got in this car?
I've put 5,000 and it's got 10,000.
Oh, you're a driver. Yeah. And what does your wife think of it when you give it the beans? Have you ever gone sideways down the road?
Yeah, she has a more of a lead foot than I do.
Oh God.
So yeah, but she's also a very good driver. So she doesn't drive it very much, but when she does, she likes to scare me a little bit.
Any questions, Mike, before we call this done? Yeah.
First, do you know the torque figures?
Yeah, do you know the torque figures?
Yes, I'm at 874 torque, and it's I get 700 or better everywhere from 1500 all the way through.
Okay, cool. And then Christian wants to know why an aluminum drive shaft and not a carbon fiber drive shaft.
Yeah, the question is why an aluminum, not a carbon fiber drive shaft?
For me, I knew I'd be doing a lot of daily driving with it. Carbon fiber is much stronger. It's also twice as expensive. I do like the fact that when it goes, it's like string cheese, unspooling, so it doesn't throw up into the bottom of your car. But that's what this safety loop is for. Aluminum is more durable. It's a little bit heavier than the carbon fiber, but not terribly much so. And for a daily driver where you're going to go over potholes and things like that, carbon fiber can get nicked pretty easily.
Have you done anything with suspension? Speaking of potholes, like tighten it up a little bit for the racetrack. Or do you just use the track app so you can go from track to race?
I use that, but I'm sure Kurt from Injected, who did the tune, he'll walk through me when I'm at the track, and he'll do suspension tweaks there.
Now, Jeff, one of the things you said you want to do next year is do the Colorado Mile. And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, the Colorado Mile is like the Texas Mile. Basically, they close off an airstrip, and they give you a mile to go as fast as possible. Now, when I did it, we did a video where we wanted to see the difference between economy mode and Hellcat mode. So economy mode is 500, Hellcat mode is, of course, 707. And I think in economy mode, we went 168, and then like 164, and then in Hellcat mode, which is 200 more horsepower, we got up to like 176 or something, 177. So it becomes exponentially harder because you're pushing a lot more air to go faster. So what top speed are you hoping for?
I think if I hit 190, that would be fun.
Oh, you gotta get the 200 club.
Well, if I hit 190, there's a 200 club. All right, I'll go for that then.
Yeah, because when I was doing it, there was a guy there who had the record, and he had a GTR that was putting out, according to him, 2,500 horsepower, and he had, of course, even a parachute on the back of it. And that got up to 244, 245.
Yeah.
But think about it. I mean, to go from 170 to 240, you need another 1,000 or 1,500 horsepower.
Yeah, and especially in that tight space.
So I always like to ask this question, kind of as my end question. What's your favorite part of the car?
I love the fact that it's like driving your living room.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah,
like
it's really comfy.
And when the power's there, when you need it,
Yeah.
you can just get to it very easily. So it's people don't think it's very practical, and a lot of the charm of this car is actually that there's nothing really logical about it, but it's fun and it's comfortable, and you can drive it like a sedan if you want to.
Yeah, or you can drive it like...
Or you can drive it down the track.
Yeah, yeah, to the breaking point.
Exactly.
And I got a feeling that by the time we get to the springtime, there'll be some more goodies under here. You seem like the kind of guy who's not satisfied with all this. Like you're not satisfied with just kind of leaving things the way that the manufacturer built them.
Yeah.
Well, one more question.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah.
Are the tires stock size?
The fronts are, the rears are, because they're Nitto and they're a little bit narrower than most others, I went up a size. Now, not every tire place is going to put those on for you. Most, like Goodyear, for instance, knew, so they were willing to put them on. One of the other discount chains.
But you said you got other tires for drag racing, right? You got some.
Yeah.
I can't think of it now. Mickey Thompson's, right?
Yes, for drag racing,
Yep.
I'm actually going to have different wheels as well. So
Okay.
I'm going 18 by 5 up front, and those are going to be Dark Star Race Stars, and the rear 17 by 10 welds.
You have to take a Sawzall to that.
Yeah, and so I'll be able to run some demon-esque tires.
All right.
And then can we start it up? Can we do that?
Yeah. Want to start it up?
Really quick?
Yeah, start it up. Let's hear what it sounds like. I'll be careful. Don't worry. Yeah, start it up. Let's hear it. Uh-oh. Oh, he's got the red key too. Thank God. Thank God you got the red key. Nice. Sounds good. Come on with me in for a second. Come on over here, Jeff. As a thank you for coming on our show, we always like to give a little, swag. So here's our swag table. It's the stuff that the manufacturers give us that then we pass along to our viewers. So pick some swag.
I used to have a Land Rover, so let me grab this.
You're gonna get
My wife will love it.
Okay, you got the Land Rover carry-all. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you very much. I'm really pleased that you had a chance to come and share your Hellcat with our viewers. And guys, as always, we'll be doing more of these shows. If you're interested in coming on Dude, I Love Your Car, shoot us an email at info@tflcar, or if you want to do Dude, I Love Your Truck, info or ask at TFL Truck. See you guys next time, and yeah, let's go this summer. Let's have a little bit of fun.
Sounds good.